What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, the Fight Podcast. I am your host, SERG VICENTE, and this is episode 283 of the podcast, man. As always, this is Wednesday, and I am joined by one of my brothers, my brother from another, the only person that I bring on when I have to talk boxing. I got the guru, CAMM. Brother, what it do? Welcome to the show.
Serge, thank you for having me per the usual, man. I know we don't got that much to talk about today, but you know we're gonna chop it up.
We got enough to talk about. Absolutely, we got enough to talk about.
Unfortunately, it's enough bullshit going on.
There is enough bullshit going on. I'm glad you put it that way. But before we get into it, on today's menu, we're gonna go ahead and talk about. We're gonna recap this TRILLER card, guys. We're gonna talk about the fallout of everything going on with Jake Paul, Ben Askren. We're also going to talk about the co-main event, what happened with Ringaroot and Ivan Redkach. We'll talk about Snoop, the rest of the commentary team, TRILLER as a whole, and so much more. But everybody listening live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, thank you guys so much for joining me on the show today, us on the show today. And hey, let's go ahead and jump on into the show. Brother, how was your weekend, man?
My weekend was good. I missed a lot of the shit this weekend. I saw a little bit of it, but I missed a lot this weekend. I went to Miami, spent some time with my niece.
This man out here vacate. Well, okay, it's family. It's family.
It was family, and I literally was there for like a day. I was in Friday night, going Sunday morning, but really just spent some time with her, chill with my sister.
That's what's up.
You know, my sister a cable cutter and shit, so I was having. And I'm dealing with a 3-year-old. It was just hard to get my streams up. UFC was pretty easy because that was free. But
right.
TRILLER card, my stream was not that great. And then what other? I couldn't get access to Fox. It was just a bad showing for me on Saturday.
Brother, it you know what, man? It really happens to the best of us. It absolutely does. We've all been there. What was about to say?
I know what happened, but I mean, and I saw the replays I needed to see, but I didn't watch everything.
Well, we'll go ahead and jump into it because you did watch the TRILLER card, and I know you saw enough of it that we could actually kind of deep dive into it. So let's go, because at the end of the day, no, what was on TRILLER was not the best fights of the weekend. That was reserved for the UFC, Kelvin Gastelum and Robert Whittaker. But there was enough that went down in this fight that we have to talk about. And in terms of like the culture and moving things forward, absolutely, this had the most cultural significance of the weekend. Did it do 1.5? Absolutely not. But we'll talk about that at some other point in time.
Do we know that for a fact?
Dog, I'll put it like this. TRILLER has been sued multiple times and gotten in trouble for inflating numbers. I don't believe anything they say.
Fair.
It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? They out there like one championship. Like they're gonna inflate those numbers. They out there, you know, like rappers on Billboard. They just out here selling streams with fucking t-shirts and shit for all I know. But man, let's go ahead. I need to stop saying man. That's like the third time I've said it today. It's one of those words that I use at the beginning of shows. It is. It's one of my filler words. I have to stop it. It bothers me. I peep it every time I listen to the show after the fact. It got me today.
Mine used to be, you know, that was my filler word.
We have them. We all have them, and it makes you have to slow down, and that's totally fine. But let's go ahead and actually jump on into this actual card. Before we get into main event, because we absolutely know what happened during the main event, let's give a full recap of the card. B, I want to ask you this. What was your idea? How did you feel about the card as a whole? What presentation, promo, everything leading up to it for you? How do you grade TRILLER at this point in time?
I think they're learning lessons on the fly. I think they did good promo. I think Jake Paul, you know, you say there's boxers out there that don't do themselves any favors, but Jake Paul does himself all of the favors.
He does himself all the favors.
Like him, hate him, he has a following, and he knows how to leverage that following. So I think from his perspective and from a TRILLER perspective, the fight had good publicity going in. You know, people love to hate Jake Paul, so people follow it. So I think promotion, that went pretty well. I think the fights on the card, pretty decent fights. You know, you got your legitimate boxer, a top 340 pounder in Regis program the card. That's cool. Get you some legitimacy. You got
absolutely
Steve Cunningham, Frank Mir. That's a good filler fight for early.
And you know what? That was actually a competitive, fun fight.
And that's the one fight I did not see at all.
No, dude, it was a competitive, fun fight. Two guys, perfect stage of their career, good matchup. I thoroughly enjoyed that fight. It was a legitimate fight.
I heard like Cunningham like smoked him on rounds, but like didn't really smoke him. Like it was like a close. It was competitive, but like Cunningham was clearly winning the rounds.
Exactly. It was a competitive fight, but it was we absolutely know who won. It was one of those fights.
Probably what you expect a boxer versus MMA fighter.
Exactly, a high level MMA guy. Exactly. He's not gonna go out there and get smoked, but he's going to lose against a high. You know what I'm saying? It's like that.
Yeah, so I mean that's cool. I mentioned Prograis fight was cool. I even think, you know, leading up to the event, Jake Paul versus Ben Askren, that's a good fight. It's a great fight for Jake Paul for where he is in his career. He needs someone that is a decent name that gives him some legitimacy. Ben Askren, for Jake Paul's following and for the people who hate him, that's a good name. You don't need.
It's a great name. It's a great name.
Baddest names. You don't need these fucking punchers. Jake Paul doesn't want to go in there and lose. Like Jake Paul is not trying to go in there and fight against fucking Tommy Fury. He's trying to go in there and win.
Oh, we'll talk about Tommy. Don't get it twisted. We will discuss
and have
Tommy.
Fun, make some money while doing it. And I think so. From those standpoints, I think things went well. I think the broadcast, from what I've heard, and even some of the videos I've seen.
We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay. We're gonna get into the broadcast because I do have. I have my thoughts on that as well, so I really want to get into that. But in all, so you'll say overall it was you enjoyed it. If you gave it a A through F, what would you give it?
I'd give it a B.
Okay, so this is my opinion and my opinion alone. I give them a D minus. That was ass. Holy shit! I feel they shit the bed. I think the first one that they did with Mike Tyson and the collaboration with the Legends League was fantastic. I think it was organized. And again, we'll talk about the commentary, but everything seemed far more cohesive that time. Even the acts, it didn't, the musical numbers took way too long. It was, all in all, was a shit show. I think it was one of those things that they really had something good and they tried to get more of it, and they just kept throwing shit against the wall and hoping that it was going to stick. And at the end of the day, it just wasn't good. It was really difficult to pay attention to as a true fight fan. And maybe to the other guys, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. But if to other guys, maybe it didn't matter. But to somebody who actually cares about fights, I don't really care to watch Triller if this is what it's going to be.
It's like you go to the store and get some candy and that shit just hits. And you're like, nigga, I'm going right back to the store.
Man.
And it's just not the same.
Dude, that is such an amazing analogy. That's a great analogy for it. It really was. It's one of those things that you're like, ooh, like it's so good. You were just hungry. It was like the best tasting thing you ever had. And you tried it the next time when you weren't hungry and you're like, this really wasn't that good. That's pretty much what happened on this one. It was bad. It wasn't well done at all. Now here, let's go ahead before we get into the fights. You start talking about it. Let's talk about the commentary team. Triller commentary team. Rate on a scale of 1 to 10. And before we get into it, if you want to talk about it real fast, they had Snoop, they had Pete Davidson, Mario Lopez, Oscar De La Hoya. They had a litany of casting characters. They literally had Suicide Squad up there. How do you feel about it? What do you feel as if, what was your take on it?
This is why you have corporate policies, because yes, we've been on this podcast before. We done had a drink. We done smoked a little bit. Shit, even rambled a little bit. I mean, that happens.
It happens.
But there's limits on everything. Like, I couldn't come on here with you on your podcast.
We even come on with do-rags on and shit. It's crazy.
But I couldn't come on here to your podcast and just be fucked up. Like, to where I'm saying stupid shit, giving stupid takes, and just yelling over you and shit. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so there was really no rhyme or reason to what was going on. I think they had the right ingredients, but like they forced it all together. And I think I think there is a place for stuff like this. I think there is a place for people smoking and talking shit and even talking over each other at some point. I think, and I said this during your broadcast earlier, that the fans, because you
thank you for listening also, and everybody who was listening live to Brothers in Combat earlier today, our show with Darnell Giovanni from Mystic Black. I appreciate you. Check us out.
So I'm not sure if cool, plug.
So we gotta do what we gotta do, man.
So I'm not necessarily sure. I don't think you buy this through cable. I think it's only purchased at this point through the Triller app. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the Triller app. Whoever their Fire TV, Firefly, whatever that is, Firefit, whatever that is. Yeah, you have to purchase it through there. It's their own entity.
So if you're purchasing just through Triller, I think they might have had to deal with cable. I don't know, but if you're purchasing through Triller, that means they're getting all of that revenue for themselves in addition to sponsorships. So I know you were talking about like money issues. Is this sustainable? Earlier, if they get 1 million buys,
let's stick with the commentary team.
We'll go there. But so the commentary team, like.
Because I want to talk about that with you, because you have a great perspective on that. And I really want to get your point of view on that.
It's a tech platform. You can have multiple broadcasts. So you can literally have it's just like you go to DAZN and you choose the American broadcast or the Spanish broadcast.
Absolutely, I can see that.
You can choose the 420 broadcast, or you can have your traditional boxing broadcast. I think there is a lane for both of them. Trying to mix them may not always go as well, but I do think there's a lane for that. There's a lot of shows that they give you like 360 immersive experiences where you can watch the show on one screen. You got some other side shit going on your tablet or whatnot. Like that's what they would do.
So scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
Where do you rate
it? It's hard. I didn't see it. So, from there, it's hard. I didn't see it firsthand. I saw some of Oscar's fuck ups. I'd probably
we'll talk about Oscar also.
I'd probably say they were like a 6.
Okay. 1.5.
Okay.
Three at best, and those three were Snoop Dogg, and only Snoop Dogg. Snoop did his thing. That was fantastic. It was a shit show. You literally had people just screaming over one another. And here's one thing that we're talking about. Yes, you have an option to go ahead and actually have different different hosts or different broadcasts that you want. But the fact that you have a group of guys that are relatively big names, not even relatively, huge names, sitting there ringside, shit-talking you, and it's literally getting pumped into the arena. So the fighters can actually hear them getting shit-talked by all these people during the fight. Is just uncalled for. It's uncalled for. It's not professional. And here's the thing. If that's going to happen, if they want to continue doing this and actually bringing those names on, like a Regis Prograis and these other real fights, you're not going to end up getting those real fighters roped in, because at the end of the day, they're like, dude, I don't want these dudes shitting on me in the middle of these fights if something isn't going my way. It was a really bad look, in my opinion. And look, it was fun last time with Snoop Dogg, but think about this. It was Snoop Dogg, Mauro Ranallo, one of the greatest color commentators in combat sports history, and Israel Adesanya, who truly understands and knows the sport. So you had 3 guys in there who's a funny guy. So you can have these people bounce off of each other. You can have one Snoop Dogg. You can't have 12 of them up there.
I agree.
It was terrible.
I'll say this rebuttal to your comments a few seconds ago. If they continue to do this, they won't be able to get fighters there. I think they will figure it out. I think they're learning. I think they're learning on the fly. These are big events with a lot of eyes on them. I think they're learning on the fly. And if boxers are smart, they'll continue to work with Triller. Triller is not trying to sign any boxers to multi-fight deals. They're looking to continue to do one-off events here and there. They're looking at it as entertainment. They're not looking at it. They're not trying to be a boxing platform. With that being said, if they can continue to do numbers in some way, shape or form, boxers will continue to expose themselves to a new audience, and then take that audience back with them to ESPN, PBC, or wherever you want to go. But I think for Regis Prograis, how many people saw Regis Prograis for the first time? We know Regis Prograis. We love Regis Prograis.
Absolutely.
He's a monster. But a lot of Jake Paul's followers never heard of him, and at least, you know, whether good, bad, or indifferent, they know that name and that he had shitty ass Ivan Redkach being Ivan Redkach. But they know Regis Prograis now. They'll remember it, and if he fights again,
absolutely, they might pay attention.
Even if it's only 10%. Even if it's only 10% of that audience. That's people that you did not have before.
Okay. I don't believe that most people that would just tune in, maybe, like you said, if it's 10% where we're being very optimistic, I think that's the best way to look at it, if we even say that much for that. But it is what it is, right? I think, and here's the thing I'll say. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What do you realistically think this did? If you don't think it did 1.5, what do you think it did? And those are crazy numbers that we were hearing early.
I think somewhere close to probably about 500K.
We'll see.
Like if it did between because I generally don't see it doing that much, especially with the way streaming is now. And one of the things I always get a feel for a fight is when I ask people around, like, yo, you watching a fight? Most people that I asked weren't watching the fight. Everybody kind of did what you did. So that's how I kind of gauge it. You know, when you see these big, McGregor fights, Mayweather fights, people are like, nope, I ordered it, I watched it. I'm not getting a lot of that from people. So it's just really interesting. And again, maybe it's just this. Maybe I'm talking to just a specific crowd of people. But it's one of those things that I think you get a real feel for it. I don't think I don't think people gave a shit as much as I think people want to act like they did. I think it was a big deal, but I say 500 max. 500,000, that is.
And to that, I'll say, oftentimes my view of the world is skewed. I'm around a certain type of people, right? A few other friends of mine. Sometimes, maybe I ask two of y'all how good an album was. Yeah. Y'all say it's good. I'd be like, yeah, I heard the album is fire. Don't mean it's fire. I just heard that from two people I hang with. Those are not the same people that are in the next generation that are typically following Jake Paul. Those are not part of his, 16 or however many million Instagram followers he got. So us asking somebody doesn't necessarily reflect the success of the event. So absolutely, not saying that you're wrong, but I am interested to see how things shake out.
Absolutely. But again, we're talking about a Triller that we can't really believe what they're talking about because they've been known to inflate these numbers. So at the end of the day, we're never really gonna know, which is kind of interesting about it, So I mean, at the end, okay, here's the thing. I don't want to sound like I'm just shitting on Triller, right? I think Triller is dope. I generally want them to continue doing this because I've finally gotten to the point that I understand Jake Paul's shtick. I see what he's doing. And for me, I'm not mad at him. I think there's a place for this sideshow, essentially. I really do think there's a place for it. So I'm not. It's pro wrestling for all practical purposes. So you have this, you have all the sideshow, you have the wild commentary. There is a place for this. I'm happy for that to happen.
And do not be surprised if Jake Paul does a WWE program.
Do not be surprised if he does that. And I wouldn't be, but that's what I'm saying. There is absolutely a place for this. And I'm cool with that. So I don't want anybody to think like I'm just like, oh, this is shitty. I don't like this. No, I like this. This is cool. Like, I think there's a place for this, and now that we really understand what it is. But here's the thing that I don't want. I think you and I have discussed this before we go ahead and jump into this actual, like, the fights of the card. But people need to get if you don't want to, first of all, you can't be emotional about it. If this dude's knocking people out that don't belong in there with him, first of all, whoever Jake Paul's, in Triller's matchmaker is, these mugs are brilliant. Brilliant matchmaking. Everything they've done. Nate Robinson is somebody that has a huge social media following. You know what I'm saying? And a big, he's a big, face because of everything that he's done in the NBA and stuff like that. And he's becoming a YouTube guy. He don't know how to fight. Bring his ass in here. And I'm way bigger than him. Bring him in here. Ben Askren, he had hip surgery 6 months, not even 6 months ago. This dude has hip replacement surgery, is super out of shape, has retired twice, and has never been known to be somebody who can actually throw a punch.
Perfect.
But he has a name. Perfect. It was brilliant matchmaking by them, so I'm not mad at that. What I'm more upset about is these doofies getting upset about it. Don't be mad. We know what he's doing. He picked it, and if it's like he's trolling. You can't be mad at the troll.
Bro, the MMA universe seemed to take that loss mad personal.
Dude, two cats took it personal, man. I couldn't believe
confused. It. And I don't even think anybody was like, oh, y'all MMA fighters are a fucking disgrace. Look at this. You know, Ben Askren got knocked out. We don't necessarily, you know, have that as an indictment on Jorge Masvidal fighting this weekend. No. Ben Askren an older version of Ben Askren just got knocked out. But the actual MMA community took so much offense. Anybody from DC to Dana White, they were mad offended.
They're taking offense.
Did Dana White lose $1 million?
It's probably $2 million. We'll talk about that too. It seems like he made a bet with Snoop, but he's going out there saying, we ain't never made no bet. Those big bets are legal. I can't make bets like that. When he said that, I always think Uncle Dana's a bold-faced lie. He gave Snoop that $2 million, if you ask me. But allegedly. Okay. But okay, so all right, where were we going with that? My bad.
We've been a bunch of places.
I know. We're just jumping around now.
we were talking about MMA fighters taking it personal.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So you have these guys who, again, they're over here taking it personally and stuff. And for me, again, I'm generally looking at it at this point in time, saying that one, they're getting upset because he's only calling them out. After he won the fight, he called out Nate Diaz. He's been calling out Dylan Dennis. He's saying, you know, Mike Perry. He's calling all these guys out that are MMA fighters. And the thing is, people are starting to get, they're fighters. They're professional tough guys. And when you start calling out professional tough guys, their feelings are going to get hurt, especially for a guy who is a troll. Now, people aren't taking into account that this troll has been taking boxing very seriously for a very long time. You and I on this platform, and you've heard me on other platforms when this fight is announced, what did I say? I went out there and said, Jake Paul gonna knock him the fuck out. And now we're going out there hearing people say, I didn't hear people say this last week. I heard the MMA community saying that Ben Askren. Never, ever did I ever say I believe Ben Askren was going to win this fight. And people cannot get emotional about it if we know who he is. Yes, come on, guys. Come on.
It's just entertainment.
It's entertainment, man. It's just entertainment. And that's what it is at this point. So salute for Jake Paul for doing this. But let's talk about this fight, okay? He goes out here, 50 seconds or so in, you know.
And these were 2-minute rounds, right?
2-minute rounds or so, yeah. But about 50 seconds in, one of the most remedial boxing combinations you ever could do. Jab to the body, overhand right to the top. Hits Ben Askren directly in the face. He drops, fight's over. Here's my question. And people are saying it. I don't necessarily believe it was, but I have to ask your opinion. Was this a fix?
Nah. I mean, no reason to fix the fight. You don't want your subscribers paying for that. You want, if you're Triller, you want a few rounds of action. Maybe he gets knocked out in a third or fourth round, but at least your subscribers got something. They got some content. They got some Snoop Dogg commentary. The fight was over so quick, I don't necessarily think there's any reason for a fix. Now, if you want to say Jake Paul built some star power off of it, cool. But I thought it was a bit of a quick stoppage. I understood the stoppage. Not saying it was a bad stoppage, just a bit of a quick one. He definitely could have let him go a little bit longer, but absolutely. I don't think it was a fix at all.
No, and I'm with you. Do I believe it was a fix? Absolutely not. It definitely was not a fix. But what it was a guy that, in my opinion, Ben Askren wasn't prepared to go in there. I don't generally believe he actually trained that hard for this, if at all. He looked like shit physically, and when he got hit, it looked like a guy that just had hip replacement surgery. What else can I say?
Even in his training videos, I was like, he looks really sluggish. Like
he looks slow and sluggish. He looks bad.
Even an amateur can put together better
more
looking
pop
videos.
Than that.
Not even more pop, just a little bit more speed. He just looked like he was moving in slow motion. And you know, Jake Paul out here bringing the fire in these training videos, as you would expect. But I just expected something a little bit better from Ben Askren. I think he went out there and unfortunately embarrassed himself, but I do not think he embarrassed the MMA community, just himself.
I agree with you. I thoroughly 1000% agree with you. Yes, he embarrassed himself. The MMA community, guys, we're fine. Like that has no reflection on us. Think about this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He's also small though. Like and you know, if you don't watch boxing or MMA in general, like you don't realize that weight classes exist for a reason. And you can say, hey, let's toss these two guys in the ring. But I mean, I think Ben Askren said he started, I don't know if he said 210 or 230, but he said he was big because he just got surgery when he got this opportunity. Right. And, you know, he came down to 190. But at the same time, he's still that 170-pound fighter.
Exactly.
So now we talk about a fighter that probably put on some extra weight. When I say extra weight, I mean fat, not muscle. And he's fighting Jake Paul, much younger than him, has been training consistently. Buddy's 190 pounds. He has a huge weight advantage. So really,
absolutely,
if he was 170 pounds or Ben Askren was 190 pounds, that's not a knockout punch. Maybe it stuns him, maybe it hurts him, but ends the fight.
Very good point.
Not at all.
And also think about that. I really look at that. If that is somebody that is young, athletic, and has been training boxing, first of all, they don't get hit with that punch. And even if they do, they roll with it anyways. He literally ate that punch. But I do have to ask you this question. You're the guru. We got you here for a reason. We got to talk about some boxing. Yo, he's going out here. He is 3-0 as a professional boxer at this point in time. Yo, how legit is Jake Paul? And do you actually believe this proves anything?
No. I'm not saying he's not legitimate. I don't know. I think he does have, you know, some legitimate talent. And maybe if he would have started boxing when he was, you know, 15, 17, you know, a little bit younger, I think maybe he line
he started at like 19, bro.
I mean,
realistically, he started at like 19 years old. If he wanted to do something, he could.
If he wanted to, I think, you know, probably has some pop, but I mean, we've just seen so little. He knocked out Nate Robinson in a really ugly fight in a couple of rounds.
Not a fighter.
The first YouTuber we saw, the first YouTuber, I saw that fight. I don't know if you saw it, but
I saw it. He wasn't a fighter.
Terrible. And so, I mean, like, you're putting him in there with nobodies, so it's hard to say, like, do we have something here? I think Jake Paul knows where he's at. He knows he has some talent, but he understands that there are limits to this game. He understands that there are levels to this game. So who can he fight to get the most bang for his buck? You can say, why don't you go in there against a real boxer? Why don't you get in the cage? Nigga, no! Why would I sign up to get beat the fuck up? I'm going to stay in my domain where I know that I can win and get paid while doing it. Duh.
Absolutely.
Come on. Well,
let me ask you this though, because you're right. You're absolutely right. And for Jake Paul and his team, he's a troll. He knows exactly what he's doing.
He's not a fighter. He's a troll. He's a content creator.
Well, no. He's a fighter. I'm gonna give him that. He's a legitimate fighter. Okay. Now,
the reason I take the fighter title away, because a fighter is trying to take them challenge. You say, oh, Tommy Fury, what's up? He's fighting, but I don't consider him a fighter.
I hear what you're saying. I still consider him a fighter because you're going out there, you're promoting a card, you're putting yourself on the line in front of an audience, putting your body and your reputation essentially on the line. You know what I'm saying? So, because here's the thing. How ass would he have looked if Ben Askren went out there and beat his ass? You know what I'm saying? So, he's a fighter. I'm going to give him that. Now, is he elite in any way? No, he's not. But I think he's a kid that has legitimate skills. He's still in his early 20s. And I'm curious to see how far he can take this. I'm curious to see how many... Because at the end of the day, so a fighter this early in his career is honestly fighting bums like this. So if he can continue doing this, and then eventually, if he continues progressing, continues doing this, we have an opportunity to get somebody who can be a legitimate superstar. If we really think about it. If he goes out there and starts, and it's crazy that I'm saying this, truly. But think about this. He started boxing again, 19 years old, which for people will say it's a little late for boxing. But I also say this. Cruiserweight is not the deepest division in the world. Okay? It's not. So if you have him go out here and he continues developing, he has something that most fighters don't have. He has money. And he has the money to get the best training, get the best nutrition, get the best coaches, get the best of everything. So he can, with his athletic ability, because he has legitimate athletic ability. He's a big kid. He's quick. He has timing. He has footwork. He can, if he can keep building and honestly paying for this habit, is going to be really interesting. By the time he gets to 28, 29 years old, he's gotten himself up to the point that he has 12 to 15 fucking fights. He might actually have to be in there with some real fucking dudes. And I'm really, I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater. I'm not saying he's going to be a world champion. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it's really interesting to see because I think this kid is good. I think he has skills. And he's young enough to continue developing. Do I think he's going to win a world title? No. Do I think he's even going to be a contender? No. But I'm very curious.
Oh, well, for me, I'm always wary of rich people fighting. Because fighting in general, whether MMA or boxing, it's a hungry man's sport. You know, I'm not just talking about, like, hunger for the title. I'm talking about niggas that can't eat. Like, that's...
We always talk about we talk about Marvin Hagler's famous quote. He says, it's hard to get up when you sleep in silk sheets. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's an aspect that he's missing. He loves the money. He loves the fame. It's fun. You're fighting. Bro, 2-minute rounds. We're not looking at someone that's looking to go up against elite fighters. Now, eventually, I think he may get to 3-minute rounds. But in my opinion, the end game, the final boss, the 6th Infinity Stone. So if we had 3 Infinity Stones, I legitimately think this could be like the 6th. Maybe we're talking about like 7 or 8, but I think it could be the 6th Infinity Stone. Is McGregor?
He's not gonna get that.
That's the final boss. If you talk about,
he's not gonna get that though.
Well, it has to be the perfect storm. It has to be McGregor gets beat up by Poirier. Very possible. You know, you got. Jake Paul, definitely. Jake Paul get a couple more wins. Continue to troll the ultimate troll like he has. They both look at it and say, "Holy shit, we're going to make all the money in the world." Like we're going to make all the money in the world. And Conor McGregor has to look at it and say, "Hey, I can beat this guy." And Jake Paul,
you know what Conor will make him do?
Jake Paul has to say, "Hey, I'm bigger than him. I can use that." I mean.
Connor's gonna make him suck weight. If that does happen, it'll be at 170. He'll make Jake Paul suck all the way down. He might make him suck down to 65.
Yeah, I think he might go down to 180 or something. I don't think he'll go down.
No. We're talking about McGregor. We forget 170 is like top.
McGregor's the A side, so he can definitely do what he wants. But Jake Paul's not going to 170.
And then that fight ain't happening.
Money talks. Money talks, and
we're talking about Conor McGregor. Just like you said, Jake Paul's not going to put himself in a bad situation or a bad. You know what I'm saying? You think Conor's going to put himself in a bad position or a bad situation?
You're right.
I highly doubt that.
Highly.
And here's the thing. You're right. He is the A side for a reason. Conor McGregor would dictate all of the terms. So if that fight even it had an opportunity to happen, he would have to do it at a weight. Because, again, think about this. You're right. Jake Paul is a kid who walks around well over 200 pounds. He's a big kid. Conor McGregor walks around probably about at 165. That's probably what he walks around at. So you think about that. Again, we're talking about weight classes. You think Conor doesn't know that also? He's not going to go out there. And, again, we're talking about a kid who's getting better. He can crack. And, again, we're talking about Conor McGregor who has all of the money.
Yeah. I mean, I think just like in this trolling / content / celebrity / older boxers, MMA fighters universe, that's the final boss. That is the 6th Infinity Stone. That is what Jake Paul is chasing after. The question is, what are the proper steps to get there?
I don't think there's any steps to get there. I generally don't see that happening. I think McGregor is looking at, if he's going to box, he wants somebody like a Manny Pacquiao, and then he'll end up piecing out and retire on his liquor money. Like, I don't see him sticking around and dicking around with all that.
Manny Pacquiao?
Absolutely.
Does McGregor rather get in there with Manny Pacquiao?
Absolutely. That's somebody, again, that's a fight that he generally believes he can win. They have the same management. And that's a fight that they've talked about. That fight was going to happen if he didn't just get knocked out. That was the next fight. So we can't act surprised When literally Manny's team and Manny's they have the exact same team, and their team said, yes, this is the fight.
Well, to be seen. To be seen. We like talking like at least 2 years out, if everything happens.
No, I'm talking about if he won that fight. That fight's not happening now. That fight's off the table now. But if he beat Dustin Poirier, I'm saying that, and we're talking about the type of fights he wants. That's what I was saying. Essentially, he wants those type of fights. He's not punching down. That for him, I think, will be punching down. I don't see him doing the Mayweather shit. I don't see him going out there fighting, a little person in Japan, coming back out here. You know what I'm saying? I don't see Conor doing that.
Okay.
I just don't. The fact that he's going out there and trying to double dip on Dustin Poirier, even though Dustin Poirier is going to put the yammers on him once again, Conor actually wants challenges. I give him that. I'll give him that type of credit. So, again, that's just me.
Jake Paul doesn't.
No. And that's what I'm saying. That's the difference, though. That's why I'm saying that fight won't happen. Because Conor's not going to look at that as a challenge. And you're not going to be able to troll him enough to want to get him out there. I'll tell you what Conor will do, though. If you piss him off enough, Conor might come find you. That's where you get a fight with Conor.
I think he's past that. I think he got a lot of issues from that shit. From that Brooklyn shit, he did not want no more of that smoke. He I'm a wild boy. I showed everybody that nigga I will turn up. But he really don't want that smoke because there was a lot of backlash for that.
Terrible backlash.
He probably lost some money. He was like, yeah, I really fucked up a bag doing this.
Oh no, he lost all the money for that one. It was crazy. All right, well let me ask you this. Let's move on. Do you have anything else to say about Jake Paul and the whole Triller experience?
Nope.
Nope. We good?
Nope.
All right. Salute to Triller, the worldwide leader in boxing. Moving right along. Regis Prograis goes out there and they've finally overturned it. It was a TKO finish in the 6th round against Ivan Redkach. But I have to ask you this. What were your thoughts on this stoppage? Because this was one of the fights that was super interesting in the sense that Regis Prograis literally was beating this guy up. Mm-hmm. Looked like he landed a huge body shot in the 6th round, which he did. Redkach acted as if and I'm going to say it again, he acted as if he took a shot to the groin, fell down, rolled around, had to get carried out on a stretcher. Fight was called. Literally, while this is happening, he's rolling around, acting as if he got hit in the nuts. They're showing the replay. And in that very replay, it shows him get hit with a body shot.
Barely, not even.
Barely. He got hit with literally with the wrist. It was with the wrist.
I know it looks lighter in slow motion, but the shot didn't really land.
Dude. I'm telling you. And then at this time, he literally has Snoop Dogg and everybody yelling at him, telling him that he got hit to the body. So he still decided to roll around on the ground and get carried out on a stretcher. B, what were your thoughts on this performance?
Ivan Redkach is the definition of a journeyman. And his last 2 fights have been at welterweight against Danny Garcia and now at junior welterweight against Regis Prograis. His last fight, Ivan Redkach did not get paid. Why did he not get paid? He did not get paid because he fucking bit Danny Garcia as if he was Mike Tyson in his prime. So, I mean, he bit Danny Garcia for no reason at all. He just fucking bit him.
Yeah, didn't Danny still knock him out?
No, he took him to decision. But
okay.
Yeah, and so so this is the type of guy that we're dealing with. You bite people, you come in the ring with crazy colors. We're not dealing with the sanest of people. It's not like you and me out here. This is Ivan Redkach doing what he does. So he goes out there and does some dumb shit. I mean, he's done dumb shit before. So is it terrible? Absolutely. Does it look bad for the sport for this to be the only legitimate fight on the card? It looks terrible. But it ends up being the result that we all expected. For me, I expected a Regis Prograis knockout. It was really just all about when.
Absolutely. I mean, Regis went out there and did exactly what we thought he was going to do. He looked sharp. He looked good. He actually did exactly what I personally wanted to see him do. So I'm happy to see him do that. He goes out there. He moves on. And I hope that he gets the winner of Taylor Ramirez. Like that's what I want him to get. Like that's what I want.
He got a couple options, you know. So Lopez was in the building. Lopez is definitely looking, you know, late this year, early next year to move up to 140. So that's a possible fight. I keep hearing AB's name thrown around. I know they've gone back and forth.
AB does not want that smoke
on Twitter. He don't, but whatever. You know, AB does what AB does. So I mean, there's Regis Prograis has options. I think he's just trying to stay busy at this point because he's boxed out of that. You know, of that undisputed fight. So you know, just stay busy.
Make good money for this too.
Stay busy, get some knockouts, and try to put yourself in position to fight the winner, which I'm not sure he does.
You don't think he will? That's interesting.
No.
Well, like I said, I think he's still one of my favorite fighters to watch. I can't wait to see what happens with him in the future, especially everything moving forward. Really quick, I meant to ask you. Yeah, go ahead, please.
If Lopez moves up, he's going to be the automatic mandatory for the winner of that fight. That's just how the WBO is.
Okay. Well, we'll see what ends up happening because we don't know. You know how fighting is. I expect him to win his next fight, but we never know. So, hey, it is what it is. I did want to ask you this. Speaking of Jake Paul, last thing before we move on with him. Who do you want to see him? Who should he fight next?
Probably Dylan Danis, something like that.
Ooh, yeah, he kicked his ass too. He knocked him out real bad.
Yeah,
Dylan Danis' hands are worse than Ben Askren.
Yeah, I mean a guy like that, you know, they have some beef, so they built it up a little bit. Dylan Danis can work. Who is the best guy that I can beat? That's what Jake Paul is thinking. You know, people want to throw around. Why don't you fight a boxer? No, I'm not trying to fight a boxer. I want to win. I want to get more fans. I want to get more money and drag this shit out as long as I can. So who can he beat? And I mean, I just don't know, you know, who are the washed up MMA fighters? You know, Dylan Danis. I don't know who else.
He's calling out like he wants Nate Diaz, but Nate's fighting real fighters, so that shit ain't gonna happen. He got Leon Edwards and stuff coming up.
I think Nate Diaz would be really fun.
But I'm telling you, I'm just saying that's not Nate's not fighting real fighters. You know what I'm saying right now. He's under contract. He's fighting actual fighters, and once you're in a UFC contract, they won't allow him to do that. It's not feasible, so it won't happen. So that's not even worth even talking about. You know what I'm saying?
I just feel like Nate Diaz does the fuck he wants. He just fights. He be gone for a few years, come back, fight for the BMF title. He just has a fan following, and I feel like he's not Conor McGregor, but like Dana White definitely be giving him a lot of leeway.
He does. He does give him some leeway, but he's earned it. That's why he actually gets it. He's another one of those guys. He's actually earned that leeway. And honestly, he doesn't get as much as he probably should, to be honest with you. And honestly, his brother who doesn't get anything that he absolutely should. So that's another story for another day.
MMA fighters are always going to be susceptible to these opportunities because MMA doesn't pay as well, and that's just how it looks. So when you talk about,
I'm just saying that's not feasible right now because he's under contract with the UFC. In the future, when he's not under contract with the UFC, maybe. Yeah. But
how many fights he got in his contract? Any idea?
No idea. He probably got as many as he fucking wants. To be honest with you, he's one of those guys. And I'll be honest with you, he's fighting Leon Edwards. He wins that fight with Leon Edwards. We're talking about him closely fighting for a title at 170. Okay, so that's what we're talking about.
What are the odds?
Nothing. He gets dragged by Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards beats the shit out of him.
And that's the thing. Nate Diaz has been going in there and getting beat the fuck up.
I mean, honestly, he hasn't. His last fight he went in there, he lost to Jorge Masvidal. That's no shame in that.
Bad.
Okay, again, no shame in that. Before that, he beat the shit out of Anthony Pettis, which says a lot. Before that, he beat the shit out of Michael. You know what I'm saying? He's working some people when he gets in there. You know, so that's the thing. We can't act like Nate Diaz isn't a monster because he is.
On any given day, you know, he could be somebody's worst nightmare. He's just never going to beat the best at this point in his career.
No, he's not. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's why he's not going to beat Leon Edwards at this point in time in his career. But I'll tell you one thing. If he's on his A game, and think about it, he's only 34 at this point in time still, man, or 34, 35, I mean, that can be a hell of a fight. Now, I expect Leon Edwards to win because I think Leon Edwards is the second best guy in that weight class. So that's why I expect him to win. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's still going to be a good fight. But okay, so let's be realistic though. We're talking about that. Like, so who else? You said somebody like a Dylan Danis. Anybody else? Because I know the person I want is unrealistic too.
Who are you thinking?
I want Tommy Fury.
Oh yeah, I mean
that's not gonna happen. He ain't fighting Tommy.
Yeah, nah. He's like no. He knows better. He's not trying to fight someone that he will definitely lose against, and Tommy Fury will likely whoop that ass.
No, not likely. Like Tommy beat that ass.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna whoop that ass. So I mean, who are we left with? I'm blanking.
It's general. I mean, Mike Perry,
Bobby Lashley.
UFC. Oh my god. Hey, did you hear him? They asked me if he fight LeBron.
Oh my gosh.
You want to know what he said?
What? Definitely.
He said, "Fuck no, he's too big. He'd beat my ass."
Really? I would honestly, if he was like a little bit older and like washed up and not playing in the NBA, I'd love to see Dame. Because Dame be boxing.
Dame would beat his ass.
You don't know that?
I got faith in Dame. I think Dame got some paws, boy.
Hey, look. Hey, Nate Robinson taught us to not have faith in that black shit. He will let you
down.
No.
I'm talking about because Dame Dollar has been training boxing for years now, and he has legitimate skills. Like Dame Dollar can box, like not even like for play. He can box for real, for real. He spars and everything. So Dame Dollar is somebody that he is like a creative player. This dude is. Let me get a dope basketball player. But then I want him to be a dope rapper too. Let me get a little of that. You want to be able to fight. Let me swing a little of that in there. The dude is so fucking talented. It's crazy.
So this definitely won't happen. I also really don't think the Mayweather fight is going to happen with Logan Paul. But like
less and less likely. I think. Yeah.
But like no one wants to see that. Like people want to see this because we think these fights might be competitive. But Mayweather, we know Mayweather.
Smokes.
But in boxing and typically MMA, this type of shit don't happen. But in a weird, whatever universe I just named, content creator YouTube universe, what about Logan Paul?
Wait. You saying Jake versus Logan?
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Sign me up. That would be a great fight. That'd be the fight.
Yeah, and like, I mean, yeah, they beat each other up, but I mean, they're not following the same rules as boxers who have traditionally been like, hey, I'm not doing this. I'm not fighting my brother. If the opportunity's there.
And Jake has definitely talked spicy about dude. He said, hey, I'm undefeated. He has a loss. Like, we're not the same. Like, he has definitely talked spicy about his brother. You know what? I think you're right. I think that might be it.
Hey, what about Mario Lopez? I know I've heard him talk about it directly. I know
he's too old. Okay. I'm glad you brought up this
Mario Lopez. He's too old.
No. Mario Lopez Mario Lopez would be too small.
He's trained.
He's too small
for so long though.
He's too small.
Okay.
He's way too small.
How tall?
Mario Lopez weighs like 150 pounds.
Really?
Like, we're talking about Casey Schrader or whatever the hell his name is, like from Saved by the Bell. This isn't a big man, but he can get down.
He's 5'10".
He might be 5'10", fam, but he's lighting the loafers, bro. He ain't walking around like 210. He's not even 190. He's another one, 170 max.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't. So I'm saying like that. That's not realistic.
I'm all out of options.
I know. You know what, man? Trying to think. Shit, his ass could have got Anderson Silva before. What's his name?
Before, yeah, Julio said. Yeah, that would have been decent. Fuck, I just hadn't. Oh, I would love to see. This is not cool, and your podcast probably gonna get canceled because of this. But I mean, Clarissa Shields would be great. I would love to see that.
Clarissa Shields would beat his ass.
And like, if you could just waive the whole, like, no men hitting women for one night, she would love that because she's struggling to get paydays. She would fucking get paid.
Yeah, no, I don't want to see that either, though. All jokes aside, definitely don't want to see that. Yeah. I don't want to see her get murked by Jake Paul. That would be terrible.
I only want to see it with the confidence that she'll win.
She wouldn't. She'd get murked. She'd get knocked out like the rest of these dudes. I don't want to see that.
I don't know that.
Come on, dude.
I don't know that.
Yes, you do.
I don't know that.
160-pound girl fighting a dude. Come on.
You're not talking about any 160-pound girl.
You're now in a fantasy land somewhere.
I'm definitely in a fantasy land.
Okay. As long as you could admit that, we cool then. Because In the real world, dude, she gets pancake like everybody else.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. She spars with plenty of men. I'm sure they holding their punches, but I mean,
exactly.
At the same time,
come on, dude.
How often or at all is Jake Paul going to be able to land on her?
Once. That's all it's gonna take. Once. What kind of silly thing is this, man?
Skills pay the bills.
Come on, man.
I'd be interested. I'd be interested. You can sell that to me. No,
that's terrible. Not even joking anymore. No, I do not want to see any woman fight any man at all.
I only want to see it if I think the woman's gonna win.
She has no shot. Again,
then it becomes
we literally said that these guys that are smaller weight class dudes. I'm saying fucking Conor, all these dudes. Nope. He won't work because he's too small. I literally said Conor can't beat him because he's too small. But we gonna sit here and think Clarissa Shields can? Come on, son.
You know I like me some Clarissa Shields.
I don't understand. I think she's all right. I don't think she's cool.
All right. What's next?
Oscar De La Hoya.
Oscar, according to Mario Lopez, had not eaten all day and simply had a couple drinks. Some strong drinks, but maybe two, three drinks that just got to him quickly.
Oh, so Oscar's a lightweight. That's what they're saying. Did he go through rehab? Should he not be doing that?
I think anybody can get drunk quickly if you haven't eaten all day. It happens. I'm not saying it's acceptable. Oscar knows he's out here known as a struggling addict. So he don't need to be making appearances like that. But at the same time, Oscar ain't necessarily known for giving a fuck. He just doing what the fuck he wants. So
kind of gotta respect it.
A little bit. A little bit. He's made a lot of money doing it.
A little bit.
He was out there definitely making a fool of himself. And that's one thing I wanted to mention before. I think it's a little bit more okay, when you have the younger, cooler, hip, I sound like such an old nigga, kids out here smoking, getting drunk, and sounding stupid on TV. But when it happens with the old nigga, you all right, party done. Party's over.
Yeah.
Party's over.
Know what? What? Very good point. That's exactly what it seemed like. It was definitely one of those moments that I was like, you know what, fam? That's just too much. You gotta stay in your lane. That wasn't your lane. So next thing you know, he's gonna be talking about he's on fleek and shit.
But it made its rounds on social media. Do you think Oscar De La Hoya actually? Triller also offered. We'll get into that later.
Yeah. Well, do you think we don't have a few more minutes left? But do you think that Oscar De La Hoya is going to fight on Triller? Golden Boy Triller promotion.
Yes.
I don't think Oscar De La Hoya fight. Does Oscar De La Hoya go out there and fight one of those MMA guys?
Yeah, he's targeting an MMA guy.
And I'll be honest with you, Eddie Alvarez.
I heard
Eddie Alvarez might be a problem for him boxing wise.
I heard
just
real.
At this age, huh?
I heard that's
maybe
not.
Real. Eddie said that he at least he was contacted by it, so I'm interested. But actually, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in him fighting at all, to be very honest.
Eddie Alvarez.
But no. Well, Eddie's actually fighting not this week, next week.
Oh, one championship.
Yeah.
Eddie's fighting next week.
He's fighting next week. He's back.
He fought 3 weeks ago, correct?
Yes, he did, and he ended up getting DQ'd.
Yeah, I saw it,
which was ridiculous.
I'm hip on my one championship.
I appreciate you, man. You know what I'm saying?
A legal shot behind the head.
It wasn't even. Well, it wasn't a bad shot. I think it was total bullshit.
It didn't look bad. It looked like bullshit.
Yeah, dude pulled an Ivan Ray catch. He went out there, oh, my neck, and my back. He pulled one of those, and but he's back, so he'll be fighting this upcoming week. There's another great card from One Championship this evening, which is going to be really dope. If you guys are listening to this now, it is Wednesday. They'll be doing one more on Wednesday as well. The PFL is making their debut. They're coming out, I want to say next week. They actually had their this weekend even. I gotta check, but they had their media day, and I was at the media day yesterday. That we had a good time. No, it was all they do Zoom. Everything's off of Zoom. So I do that for them, and I do the media days with them in Bellator. So I was able to ask Anthony Pettis some fantastic questions about what his, saying what his favorite munchies were. So that was always a good time. But everything aside from that, man, is there anything else we need to get to today, Guru?
Yeah, there's a lot I need to get to.
We only got that much time, so we better get to it.
I know. All right, we'll get through this real quick. So, number one, I'll talk about the Demetrius Andre fight this weekend. I know you don't necessarily care. It was a decent little fight, better than a few of Demetrius Andre's fights. He suffered the same type of storyline: hurt a guy early, put him down, go to decision. However, Liam Williams continued to march forward the entire time. Absolutely. He actually hurt Demetrius Andre.
Yes, he did. He did.
In the 9th round. It was a lackluster performance for Demetrius Andre, who at some point was talking about retiring from boxing, or I think he said fighting a cruiserweight. Like, I don't think he really trained for this fight, and that was evident throughout the fight. He just wasn't as sharp as he normally was. However, I think this is the best possible scenario for him. Like, the only route he has is to not look a
little washed and get one of the big names
to entice some of these fighters to get in the ring with him. And we've seen that happen before. You get these big names, hard to make the fight happen. Somebody has a lackluster performance. Triple G against fucking Danny Jacobs. Where you're not as dominant. Maybe you win, not as dominant. Now people are calling. Now Demetrius Andre, I know he had a situation a long time ago with Jamal Charlo, I believe it was. They had a fight scheduled. Fight week, Demetrius Andre pulls out of the fight. Yep. So that's on him. I don't know what happened. That's on him. The other one where he was going to fight Billy Joe Saunders, and this to me is kind of fucked up because Billy Joe Saunders is getting the big payday opportunity with Canelo Alvarez, and he ain't fought nobody a minute. He ain't fought nobody. He ain't really done much. To me, he still got to go settle that smoke with Demetrius Andre. I guess he's fighting at 168 now, but I mean, he's the one that fucked that fight up. He tested. I had tickets to that fight. It was in Boston.
That's why you mad.
No, I mean, they accepted the tickets. I went to Danny Jacobs and whoever the last guy Jamal Charlo beat. When Danny Jacobs fought him, I just returned the tickets and went to that fight.
Absolutely.
So
well, that's great.
Either way, Demetrius Andre, he got through there in a lackluster performance. There's a ton. Nobody. It's sad that he's boring to watch. We both agree, and I think he hasn't done any favors for himself inside the ring.
Has not.
I think outside the ring, he can market himself a little bit, but inside the ring, this is why it's important to get people out of there, because at a certain point, like, absolutely, I mean that's what people want to see, and if you are showing the ability to hurt guys early, and then there's not putting your foot on the gas, the fans are going to react to that, especially when it's against low-level opposition. And that's continued to be the story with Demetrius Andre over and over. It'll be interesting to see where his career goes from here. And if he can... Once you lose that passion for something, that fire, it's hard to get it back. So hopefully a big name gets him up for a fight. Hopefully a big name fights him at some point. But, we'll see. Serge. Can you hear me?
Hold for a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
1 second. All of a sudden, my audio, for some reason, all of a sudden, I can't hear you. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Can you hear me,
guys? Yo, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Well, check it out. Unfortunately, I can't hear you.
I think
do me a favor. I want to do this because I can't hear you, but I do want you to finish your point. So go ahead and finish your point. We're going to go ahead and close it out from here, okay? Go ahead.
So the last point that I had after that Demetrius Andre point was the point about the Showtime boxing schedule. The Showtime boxing schedule, which they released, which is a pretty good move on their part. I like when they do that. Some pretty interesting fights on there. Some pretty disappointing fights as well. You have Jamal Charlo fighting Juan Montiel. Why the fuck is that happening? I don't know. I don't know who Jamal Charlo's matchmakers are and how they're allowing this to happen. But, Jamal Charlo fighting another cherry. You do have Jermell Charlo on the other hand going for the undisputed super welterweight championship. That's going to be pretty exciting. The Chris Colbert versus Yuri Gamboa. David Benavidez versus Jose.
All right, but we got to close it up, man.
That Tank Davis card, that's a good card. Speculating it's going to be in Atlanta. That's a great card in a great place. That's going to be an explosive environment, especially coming out of pandemic. But that's all for me. Thank you, Serge.
There it is, man. Well, look, appreciate you guys. Sorry for little audio issues at the end, but I hope everything is great. B-Cam, the guru, always pleasure having you on the show, my brother. Can't wait to do this at some point in time very, very soon. Great fights coming up. Keep active. Fight Podcast.